Exposed, granddaughter reveals amazing plan to steal my inheritance and place me in a home. Walter Thompson sipped his black coffee, the steam curling up into the crisp autumn air as he stared out at the old oak tree in his front yard. Its leaves were turning, much like his life, signaling change that he wasn't ready for. Inside this charming old house, each room held fragments of his past, the wood-paneled den where laughter echoed as he taught his children to ride bicycles, the porch swing where he and Clara shared quiet evenings lost in each other's eyes. Memories danced around him like the fireflies that once lit their summers. Today, however, the chill in the air felt like a warning. The creak of the front door pulled him from his reverie. Jenna stood there, her petite frame silhouetted against the doorway. There was excitement in her eyes, but it quickly shifted to somber determination. "Grandpa," she paused, eyes glistening, "I have something important to discuss." Walter's heart sank, a knot in his stomach tightening. This was not the usual Thanksgiving planning, no talks of family feasts or shared stories. Instead, Jenna was about to shatter his peaceful morning. "I think it's time for you to transition to assisted living," she said, her voice steady yet tender. "It's just, things are changing." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. Walter's chest tightened, a feeling of betrayal swirling within him. Transition? For all his life, he had fought for independence, for the right to stay in the home he built with Clara, his foundations worn yet strong. Underneath Jenna's intentions, he sensed another motive. Whispers of money and inheritance floated between them like fog. A chill crept down his spine. Why couldn't she just ask him directly? Wasn't family supposed to be a bond of trust? The thought of being viewed as a burden gnawed at him, a familiar sting that reminded him of the changes in their small town. Once a community grounded in loyalty, folks now seemed consumed by shallow judgments and economic struggles. Before he could voice his distress, the tension in the room escalated. Memories of community gatherings and shared meals turned to discussions of how older folks were being sidelined, becoming afterthoughts in a society thirsting for productivity. That sense of loyalty? It felt shattered. As Jenna's determined gaze bore into him, Walter's disappointment grew, falling like heavy raindrops on his heart. "Listen, Grandpa," Jenna pressed, her voice quaking slightly. "It's for your safety." Her tone wavered between compassion and a hint of urgency, igniting the internal struggle within Walter. Before he could muster a response, words fled him, swallowed by confusion and the weight of unvoiced fears. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Walter took a deep breath, summoning all the veracity he had retained from his years as a veteran. Gathering a few trusted neighbors, fellow veterans, and their families, he began to realize he wasn't alone. Together, they rallied, not just to challenge Jenna's plans, but to redefine what family truly meant. They knew the stories that held this town together, fights for dignity over neglect, and a history that was worth standing up for. Just when he thought he might confront Jenna about her actions, a sudden peculiar twist surfaced as he learned of her own struggles, the pressures she faced, feeling unheard and overshadowed in a world spinning too fast for her young spirit. Confronting her now became a matter of urgency. "Why couldn't you just ask me?" he pleaded, the vulnerability existing between them palpable. As Jenna hesitated, fear and hope flickering in her eyes, Walter felt the fragile threads of their bond trembling, the fate of their family history hanging in fragile balance. Would they reclaim what had been lost, or was it too late? Jenna stood there, her small frame swaying slightly, uncertainty etching lines on her forehead. Walter's heart felt heavy like an anchor pulling him down. This was not just a matter of care. This was a collision of hopes and fears, a family torn at the seams. "Grandpa, please, it's not what you think," she whispered, her voice trembling. I just want you to be safe. I can't be there all the time and I worry. Worry? Walter's voice cracked, the rasp of hurt echoing in his words. You want to worry for me by sending me away, leaving my home? This home has been my life's work. He gestured wildly, frustration bubbling over, his coffee forgotten on the table. I raised a family here, Jenna. I've fought for every brick of this house, and this is how you repay me? Tears brimmed in her eyes. I thought it would help, Grandpa. I just want what's best for you. Her voice was raw, filled with a blend of desperation and sorrow. I see friends who can't manage on their own anymore, and I can't help but think of you. What if enough? Walter interrupted, the weight of desperation putting a tremor in his voice. What if I have a say in my life? Is that so selfish? The resentment wrapped around him like a thick fog, threatening to suffocate him. Silence fell heavy between them, punctuated by the distant sound of leaves rustling outside. Walter's thoughts raced, remembering all the times he held her hand and comforted her during childhood fears. Wasn't he that a part of family? Supporting each other without judgment? He calmed himself, fighting to stay grounded. Jenna, I know you think you're protecting me, but I need you to trust me. I can still make my own choices. His voice softened, carrying the weight of years gone by. I just don't want to lose you, Jenna finally admitted, her voice barely more than a whisper. The admission hung in the air, shifting the temperature in the room, making everything feel more real. I'm not going anywhere, Jenna, he replied, longing to bridge this chasm between them. But you need to understand that I'm still capable. I still have stories to share, lessons to teach. I want to live, not merely survive. Jenna squeezed her eyes shut, tears escaping down her cheeks. Walter felt a mixture of helplessness and compassion surge within him. His granddaughter had turned into a woman before his eyes, yet what he saw was the silent struggle of someone carrying too much for too long. Let us talk it through, he said, inviting her toward him. Let us find a way. Together. Jenna looked up, her expression shifting from defeat to a fragile glimmer of hope. You mean it? Of course, he assured, feeling a spark of warmth return to the room. But we need to communicate openly. None of this sneaking behind each other's backs. You tell me your worries, and I'll tell you mine. A fragile smile broke through her tears. Okay, I'll try. Their conversation grew, peeling back layers of hurt and misunderstanding. As they spoke, Walter realized that easing his fears about losing control meant not just fighting for his space, but also listening to the vulnerabilities Jenna faced in today's world. However, lurking behind their words was something far more ominous. Hints of tension still lingered in the house, shadows from secrets left unaddressed. Grandpa, Jenna said cautiously as they finished talking, there's something else I need to tell you, something I never mentioned before. Walter's stomach tightened. A revelation? What more could shake the foundations of their fragile bond? Go on, he prompted, heart racing. She took a deep breath, glancing down for a brief moment. It's about the inheritance, and just like that, the air thickened again with apprehension. Would this news unite them, or crush any hope they just rebuilt? Walter's heart raced, pounding like a drum in his chest. Inheritance. The word hung in the air like a dark cloud, and he felt a cold sweat prickling his skin. Jenna's expression wavered, torn between a desire to share and the fear of his reaction. What about the inheritance? He asked, trying for calm but failing to mask the tremor in his voice. Jenna hesitated, the weight of her thoughts heavy and palpable. I don't know how to say this, she began, her hands twisting in front of her. I've been looking into options, ways to make everything easier for everyone. He leaned forward, tension sparking in the space between them. What do you mean? I've been thinking about a trust fund, she blurted, her eyes darting to the floor. If you could just, maybe put the house in my name. Just for a little while it could help pay for in-home care or, I don't know, maybe even a facility if it comes to that. I don't want you to struggle, Grandpa. Walter's throat felt tight. You want to take my house? His voice rose, fueled by disbelief. You're asking me to just hand it over without a fight? No, it's not like that. She protested, desperation lining her voice. I'm trying to help you. I know what needs to be done, and this could ensure you're well cared for without any financial burden. You think any of this is easy for me? Walter shot back, his frustration boiling over. You're coming up with plans that don't even consider what I want. This is my home. My memories. You can't just reduce it to a financial transaction. Tears streamed freely down Jenna's face again, but now they bore the weight of her frustration and sorrow. Grandpa, you don't understand. You can't keep everything the same, pretending nothing is wrong. We have to be realistic. This isn't about stealing, it's about survival. He shook his head, battling against the storm raging inside him. A survival you want to let me choose. I can still decide my own fate, Jenna. You act like this is a foregone conclusion, but I'm the one who should have a voice. Silence wrapped around them, thick and suffocating. He could feel the walls closing in, pressing on him, on their conversation. The hurt echoed in his heart, a painful reminder of how quickly words could build walls between them. Maybe if you really cared, you wouldn't dismiss my concerns, he finally said, his voice softening, but only slightly. Jenna stepped back, visibly crushed by his words. I thought this would make things easier, she whispered, shoulders sagging with defeat. Walter took a moment, fighting the urge to take it all back. They needed each other now more than ever, not just in physical support but emotionally, too. How about this? He suggested, an idea forming in his mind. Let us sit down together and really figure out what needs to happen without the dramatics. No anger. Just clarity. Jenna nodded slowly, the tension lingering but shifting slightly, like a gentle breeze after a storm. I'll try, she replied, her voice shaky but hopeful. Before he could even process the shift in their dynamics, Jenna added ominously, but, Grandpa, there's one more thing you should know. It's not just about the house, there are other debts, family secrets, and they're not just mine to bear. Walter's heart sank again. What did she mean? Secrets? Debts? As he stared at his granddaughter, he realized each revelation led them further into a tangled web, far darker than he had ever anticipated. Jenna, what do you mean? He demanded, the urgency in his voice palpable. I'll explain everything. But you need to promise me you'll listen, even if it's hard to hear at that moment. Walter felt a chill run down his spine. What else awaited him? What truths had been hidden within the walls of his beloved home? Walter felt a wave of anxiety wash over him, battling the sense of impending doom growing in his chest. The conversation had taken a sharp turn, revealing chasms in their relationship he hadn't anticipated. Okay, Jenna. I promise. Just tell me what you're talking about, he urged, his voice losing some of its fervor. Jenna took a deep breath, still trembling, and wiped her tears with the back of her hand. It's our family. There's a lot you don't know, things that have been kept from you from all of us. Walter's brow furrowed in confusion and concern. What do you mean? What are these debts? What secrets? Jenna hesitated again, gnawing on her lip as if weighing every word carefully. After Grandma passed, things changed. Mom struggled to keep everything afloat. The mortgage was piling up, and there were medical bills, especially after the accident. Walter's heart ached as she spoke. He remembered the frantic calls, the urgency, the way his daughter had changed overnight, burdened by grief and new responsibilities. Did you think I didn't notice? He asked softly. Why didn't you tell me then? I wanted to protect you, Jenna said, her voice barely above a whisper. But it was too much for Mom. She tried to handle things alone, and it got messy. I thought if we could just stabilize everything, if we could just get the house sorted out. How, Jenna? Walter wasn't ready for a vague answer. What does giving up my home do to help any of us? She stepped forward, determination carving new lines on her face. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to be in that house by yourself, getting lost in memories that are tearing you apart. I want to keep you close, but we can't ignore the reality of what needs to happen. It's consuming everything, Grandpa. He closed his eyes, processing her words like pieces of a puzzle that didn't quite fit together yet. And what about the secrets you mentioned? What else is out there? Jenna hesitated, swallowing hard. Finally, she stepped closer, as if sharing a burden only they could understand. There are family loans and debts that were taken out in your name without you knowing. They're on the verge of pulling everything under. I didn't know until I came back to help. It's all just Walter opened his eyes wide. Taken out in my name? Why? Who? A lot, she began, her voice trembling. The truth is, we were all too prideful to ask for help. I thought that if you just had the house, if we got that organized, maybe everything else could fall into place. Walter felt his chest tightening. Emotions washed over him, anger, betrayal, but also a simmering fear. So it's not just about the house, it's about saving us from something we can't escape? She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes once again. But it's not just on you or me, it involves Mom. There are fights we haven't had yet, and truths we've been avoiding. But if we don't face this together, it'll tear us apart. Do you see that? The storm inside him raged like wildfire. His home, his sanctuary, could become a battleground of hurtful truths. Would they come to understand one another, or was this just the beginning of a greater upheaval? Walter took a shaky breath. We need to talk to your mom. Now. As those words left his lips, he realized how fragile their family fabric had become. Was he ready for what they might uncover? Would the revelation strengthen their bond or rip it to shreds? Uncertainty loomed over them, but one thing was clear: the path ahead was fraught with challenges, and they needed to brace themselves for whatever came next. Jenna's expression shifted. Worry etched across her face as she felt the weight of his words. Do you think she'll understand? Walter hesitated, torn between the anger he felt toward the situation and the genuine fear for what his wife, Clara, might reveal. She has to, he said firmly, more for himself than for Jenna. She needs to know the truth. We all do. He turned on his heel and stepped toward the door, but Jenna grabbed his arm, her hands shaking. Wait. What if she blames me? Jenna. Walter began but stopped, searching for the right words. This isn't about blame. It's about honesty. We need to confront this, not run from it. She nodded slowly, wiping her cheeks again. Together, they moved toward the living room where Clara sat, absorbed in the morning sunlight filtering through the window. She seemed so peaceful, completely unaware of the storm brewing just outside the door. Mom? Walter called, his voice wavering. Clara looked up, her brow furrowing. What's wrong? Can we talk? Walter gestured for Jenna to follow him closer as he walked in. Clara put down her book and adjusted herself in her chair, leaning forward with a hint of concern shadowing her gentle features. Of course. What's going on? Walter took a deep breath, his chest rising as he grappled with the anxiety twisting inside him. He exchanged a glance with Jenna, who nodded, showing her own determination even through her worry. It's about the house and everything that's been happening. Jenna has something she needs to share. Clara's eyes widened with confusion. What are you talking about? Is this about the mortgage? The bills? Mom. Jenna stepped forward, her voice stronger now. There are things you didn't tell me. Things I discovered about our finances. You've been trying to fix it on your own, and it's gotten so much worse than I realized. Walter watched Clara as the color drained from her face, her hands clenching tightly on the armrests. I didn't want to burden you. I thought I could manage, I thought we could. But, Jenna, Mom, please. You have to understand that this affects all of us. The debts, the loans, they're in Grandpa's name. None of us knew. Clara's face contorted with disbelief and horror, and Walter felt his heart zip through shallow breath. What are you saying? That I put this weight on him? It's more complicated than that. We thought if we fixed the house, organized everything, it would work itself out, Jenna explained, the urgency in her words clashing with the sadness behind them. Clara's eyes brimmed with tears. I didn't want you carrying this. I thought you were both busy, happy. It's not about happiness or busy, Mom. It's about survival. I can't lose you both, Jenna said, her voice stronger now. We need to face this together, whatever it takes. Clara took a shaky breath, the reality settling in like an anchor, holding her in place. Walter felt the weight of the moment. They were at a crossroads, one that could either tear them apart or bring them back to each other. Mom, Jenna's voice broke like glass, I'm scared. But it's time to talk about everything. The secrets. The debts. What we're really facing. The silence in the room was suffocating. Walter, watching carefully, could see Clara's internal battle. Could the fear of losing their family usher them toward healing? Or would it draw them deeper into betrayal and guilt? The room hovered in stillness, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Would Clara finally reveal the truths she hadn't dared accept? And could they handle the weight together? As Clara closed her eyes, Walter held his breath, waiting for the answer that could change everything. Would she speak or stay silent, hiding behind years of unshared burdens? Clara opened her eyes slowly, and Walter felt as if his entire world was resting on her fragile expression. Seconds turned into what felt like hours while she seemed to sift through the chaos in her mind. He could see her wrestling with not just her fear, but a deep-seated shame that had long been hidden beneath layers of love and sacrifice. "Jenna," Clara finally said, her voice soft yet carrying a tremor of desperation. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I never wanted you to feel to know so much about our struggles." Her words were drenched in guilt, and Walter winced at the pain etched on her face. Jenna stepped closer, her concern flooding the air between them. "But you needed help, Mom. And we're here now." "Please just what?" Clara interrupted, the edge of her voice rising. "What do you want me to say? That I've made a mess? That I've let you both down?" Walter squeezed his eyes shut for a brief moment. How could they find a way forward if Clara remained trapped in her guilt? "No, Mom. We just want the truth. We love you. Can you let us in?" Clara's breathing grew heavier, her shoulders trembling as she fought tears. Then, a flicker of resolve ignited in her eyes. "Okay," she said slowly, "let us talk. But understand it won't be easy." Walter held his breath, his heart pumping loudly in his ears. As Clara began to recount the past months, the words spilled out like gravel from a broken dam. She spoke of late-night phone calls, desperate attempts at refinancing, and how, in her mind, she was trying to shield them from the truth. "I thought if I kept juggling the bills, if just for a little longer I could find a way to fix it. I didn't want you both to worry. I suppressed everything. I thought I was doing the right thing." Jenna's eyes widened with realization, and she took a step back. "You thought keeping us in the dark would keep us safe?" "Yes. I wanted to protect you." Clara's voice cracked, the tension finally breaking as tears rolled down her cheeks. "But instead, I've put you both in even more danger." Walter stepped closer to Clara, kneeling down to meet her gaze. "Mom, we can fix this. But we need to do it together." Clara's face shifted with a mix of vulnerability and fear, as if exposing her deepest wounds was a terrible risk. "Together how? What if it's too much?" Jenna's voice joined the conversation, quiet yet filled with determination. "Then we tackle it piece by piece. No more hiding." Walter glanced between the two women, their expressions filled with raw emotion. He felt a warmth beginning to flow through the cracks of their fractured circle. "Sometimes the hardest fights lead to the best outcomes," he said gently. "All we have is each other. We can face this. Together." Clara wiped her tears with the back of her shaking hand. "But what if it all crumbles? What if I can't hold it back any longer?" Jenna reached for Clara's hand, intertwining their fingers. "Then we'll pick up the pieces. All that matters is that we start being honest with each other right now." The three of them sat in a circle, a semblance of unity forming in the room thick with tension. The shadows of family secrets lurked nearby, but the light of truth began to seep through. Walter felt a flicker of hope igniting in his chest, whispering that perhaps, just perhaps, they could make it through, and then the phone rang, breaking the fragile moment. The sound shattered the atmosphere, leaving a heavy silence that filled the room. Walter exchanged a glance with Jenna and Clara, a chill settling deep within him. Who could it be? What news might this call bring, and would it disrupt their fragile resolve? As Clara reached for the phone, the room held its breath, the question lingering, would this be the blow that would break them, or the lifeline they desperately needed? Clara swiped her finger across the screen, her heart racing as she answered the call. The voice on the other end was unfamiliar, yet there was an urgency that tugged at her instincts. "Clara? It's Sarah from the bank. We need to talk about the mortgage." The breath caught in Clara's throat. The bank. It loomed over her like a storm cloud, a constant reminder of her failures. "Okay," Clara murmured, stealing a glance at Walter and Jenna, who were watching her with wide eyes. "Can you come in tomorrow? There's something important we need to address," Sarah continued, her tone serious. Walter felt his stomach drop at the loaded words. What does that mean, he thought. Jenna leaned closer, her brow furrowed, and Clara's grip on the phone tightened. Is it about my account? Clara forced herself to ask, trying to keep her voice steady, but it trembled nonetheless. Yes, and, it may involve some sensitive information concerning your balance and options moving forward. There was a long pause, as if Sarah was gauging Clara's reaction. We can't hold off any longer. Please. It's time we discuss your account. The weight of those words hung in the air. Clara felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. I'll be there tomorrow, she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. After returning the phone to the table, she stared at it as if it were a venomous snake. What did she mean? Walter pressed, fear gripping his chest. I don't know. Clara snapped, the rawness of her emotions overcoming her once more. I don't know what more news can come. I thought I could make this right. I was supposed to. Jenna jumped in, her voice firm yet gentle. Mom, this is just one step. We're in this together, remember? Whatever news comes tomorrow, we'll face it. Clara looked at them, each of their expressions a mix of hope and uncertainty. She drew a shaky breath, then finally let go, feeling the burden lift just a little. I'm so tired of pretending everything will be fine. I just wanted to protect you both. Walter reached out, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Protecting us means being honest, Clara. It means allowing us to help. Silence fell upon them like a soft blanket, each lost in thought. The shadows around them seemed less threatening now, but the flicker of worry still danced on their hearts. Jenna broke the silence, her eyes brightening slightly. Maybe this is a turning point, Mom. Maybe tomorrow will be the day we truly confront all of this, and not just keep pushing it down. Clara gave a small nod, a sense of warrior resolve washing over her. Okay, she said, almost surprised at her own willingness to fight. Whatever happens, we handle it together. No more secrets, no more hiding. Just then, a loud knock echoed through the house, palpable and sudden. The three of them exchanged glances, and an unspoken dread settled in. Who could that be? Walter wondered aloud. Standing up, he moved towards the door. Clara's heart raced. Maybe it's just a neighbor, she said weakly, but the knot in her stomach told her otherwise. Walter opened the door, and the sight that met them left them all speechless. Standing on the porch was a woman they hadn't seen in years, a woman whose sudden appearance could either turn their lives upside down or crack the door open to a surprising new chapter. Hello, Clara, the woman said, her voice both familiar yet foreign. We need to talk. Clara's heart sank, and fear washed over her like a tidal wave. This wasn't just a knock on the door. It felt like the universe had thrown down a gauntlet. What had she come here to say, and how would it change everything they were just beginning to piece together? Clara's heart raced as the woman stood framed in the doorway, her figure cast in the fading light of the evening. Memories blurred in a haze of shock. Emotions surged and crashed within her: anger, fear, and an undercurrent of something unidentifiable. Lila, Clara finally managed, her voice wavering like a leaf caught in a gust of wind. The name felt foreign and yet entirely familiar at the same time. Can I come in? Lila asked, her expression unreadable. Clara hesitated, exchanging a loaded glance with Walter and Jenna, whose eyes widened in disbelief. Why are you here? Clara asked, forcing herself to sound steadier than she felt. This isn't a good time, Walter added sharply, positioning himself protectively in front of Clara. Lila took a step closer, her tone softening. I know this is unexpected. I won't take long. I need to talk about your father. Clara's heart stuttered. Her father, once a towering figure in her life, had slipped away into the embrace of darkness, losing himself to addiction years ago. The thought of him brought a rush of unresolved feelings, tangled in guilt and resentment. What about my father? She replied, every word a deliberate effort to keep her composure. I have information. Things he said just before Lila trailed off, glancing away. Before he passed. Things you might want to know. The silence that followed was thick. Clara's mind whirled with the implications. She could feel Walter's presence beside her, his silent support urging her to open the door or slam it shut. "Come in," Clara finally said, her decision feeling monumental. Lila stepped inside, and the air shifted as if welcoming a storm. Once seated in their living room, Clara felt the gravity of the situation settle around them like a heavy fog. Lila squared her shoulders. "He wanted to make amends, Clara. He had plans for you. For your future." "What kind of plans?" Clara's voice was sharp, reflecting years of disappointment and abandonment. "He left you something a trust," Lila said slowly. "But it wasn't just about money. He wanted you to learn from his mistakes. He hoped you'd have a better life." Clara blinked, confusion swirling within her. "A trust? After everything he put us through? Why should I believe anything he wanted now matters?" Lila's gaze bore into hers, unyielding. "Because he was trying to change. He didn't want to die without making it right." "What does this have to do with you?" Walter interjected, suspicion creeping into his voice. Lila hesitated. "I was named as a trustee. He trusted me to help you manage it, but... Jenna prompted, voice filled with urgency. "There's a lot more. There are conditions. He wanted you to confront your past, to face the things that have held you back. That's the only way you'll access it," Lila explained, her hands trembling slightly. The room fell silent again. Clara felt the walls pressing in, stifling her. Her father? The thought of facing those memories was gut-wrenching. Would she really want to sift through the wreckage of her childhood for the sake of money? Yet beneath the weariness, a flicker of hope ignited. Perhaps this was the opportunity she had been avoiding. "You don't have to do this alone," Lila continued softly. "But I can't promise it will be easy. It'll force you to explore the dark places." "Look, whatever you think he wanted, I'm just not sure I can face that," Clara said, voice breaking. Lila leaned forward, her expression earnest. "You owe it to yourself and to your family to find out. If you're willing to try, I'll help you. Just give me a chance." Clara's mind buzzed with questions, uncertainty, and a whirlwind of feelings clashing against one another. Could she dive back into that past? What awaited her there? Would it change her life for the better, or simply rehash old wounds? As she stared at Lila, the enormity of the decision loomed before her like a mountain. A path lay ahead, twisted and dark, but full of possibilities. Tonight may just be the beginning, Clara, but she wasn't ready. Not yet. What lay at the end of this journey? And would Clara find the strength to face the shadows of her past and perhaps reshape her future? Clara's breath caught in her throat. The weight of Lila's words settled like an anchor in her chest. She could feel the eyes of Walter and Jenna on her, searching for any sign of how she might respond. The air felt thick, almost electric, as they awaited her reaction. "Are you really asking me to reopen wounds?" Clara's voice trembled, a mix of bitterness and disbelief. "After all that, do you think it's easy to just pull the Band-Aid off and dive into that chaos?" Lila shifted in her seat, her gaze unwavering. "It's not about making it easy. It's about healing, Clara. You've been carrying the weight of your father's mistakes for too long, and it doesn't have to define you. But if you leave it buried, it will." Clara's mind flashed to memories she'd tucked away, her father's incoherent rants, the nights filled with fear and uncertainty, the empty promises. She had pushed those thoughts into the back of her mind, convinced that forgetting would be the way to move on. "What if confronting my past just makes it worse?" Clara whispered, a hint of vulnerability breaking through her steely facade. "Sometimes you have to dive into the storm to find the calm on the other side," Lila replied, her voice gentle yet firm. "It won't be easy, but you'll discover parts of yourself that you never knew existed." Walter's hand brushed against Clara's shoulder, a grounding presence. "Clara, this is your decision," he said quietly. "But if Lila is right, maybe it's worth considering." Clara looked back to Lila, her heart racing with both fear and a spark of hope. Could she really face everything? Would digging into the past bring clarity or simply more pain? "What exactly do I have to do?" "Your father left clues," Lila explained, excitement bubbling in her voice. "Hints about moments in your life that shaped you, places you need to visit. Engaging with these pieces of your past is the only way to unlock the trust. As Lila spoke of the journey ahead, Clara's mind flickered with images of her childhood home, her favorite park, and the small diner where they used to eat on Sundays. Each place was intertwined with joy, pain, and unresolved feelings. "Are you really willing to help me?" Clara asked. There was a hesitance in her voice, as if she was the one standing on the precipice of the unknown. "I am," Lila confirmed, nodding earnestly. "You wouldn't be alone. I'll be with you every step of the way." Think of it as embarking on a quest, with the reward being not just the trust, but also newfound freedom. Clara's heart raced. The idea of regaining control over her life was intoxicating. But what if I can't do it? What if I find out things I wish I hadn't? Then we'll deal with it together, Lila assured her, warmth radiating from her words. But you won't know until you try. This is your chance to rewrite your story. Clara's palms felt sweaty, her heart pounding against her ribcage. She could picture the possibilities, the potential for something better, a life unshackled from the ghosts of her past. But would she have the strength to confront those shadows? Okay, Clara breathed, the decision finally slipping past her lips. "I'll do it." Her resolution hung in the air, a fragile promise to herself. But just as the flicker of courage ignited within her, a nagging thought flickered at the back of her mind. What if digging into her past brought dangers she wasn't ready to face? The moment was heavy with anticipation, marking the beginning of a perilous journey filled with hidden secrets and emotions waiting to be unearthed. "I'm ready," she finally stated, her voice barely above a whisper, as uncertainty colored her resolve. As Clara prepared to look back, she couldn't shake the feeling there was more lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike when she least expected it. What revelations awaited her in the depths of her father's past? Would uncovering the truth bring her peace or further complicate her life? Clara woke up the following morning, a fresh resolve buzzing through her. The sun streamed through the window, illuminating the fresh start she was determined to make. Today wasn't just about confronting the past, it was about reclaiming her future. The air felt lighter, as if the shadows lingering inside her were beginning to lift. "Today's the day," she whispered to herself. Walter sat across the table, sipping coffee as his eyes danced with concern and encouragement. The heaviness of their recent discussions still hung delicately in the air, and Clara knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but she felt a shift in her spirit. She was ready to take steps forward. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Walter asked gently, his brow creasing with concern. Clara met his gaze, her heart swelling with resolve. "Absolutely, Dad. It's finally time. Secrets kept us from each other for too long. I can't do this alone anymore." Jenna, standing nearby, nodded with pride. "We're with you, whatever comes. No more fear, okay? Just honesty." A warmth spread through Clara's chest as she felt their unwavering support. Their bond was stronger now, forged through the recent upheaval, and she would take it into the unknown. Together, they stepped out of the house. The brisk autumn air greeted them. Clara felt the ground beneath her feet stabilizing her wobbly resolve. As she walked, memories of the past began to swirl around her, a mixture of pain and warmth that shaped who she had become. She could almost hear her father's laughter and silences laced with tension. At the bank, Clara felt her heart race as she met Sarah, who sat at the desk waiting for her. "Thanks for coming in," Sarah began, her tone unyielding yet not unkind. "We have a lot to discuss." Each word hung heavy, and the atmosphere thickened with unspoken truths. Clara felt Walter's reassuring squeeze on her hand as they settled into the conversation. "Your father had specific stipulations regarding the trust," Sarah continued, pulling up documents on her screen. "He wanted you to complete certain tasks before any funds would be released." The reality of it all hit Clara. This was her chance, and it also required confronting the unshakable ghosts that loomed. "What kind of tasks?" she asked, voice shaking slightly. Sarah tapped a few keys. "There are 3 locations," he marked. "Your childhood home, the old diner, and the park where you spent so many weekends." Memories flooded Clara's senses. Would visiting those places unlock what she needed as she and her family left the bank? The weight of the world hung on her shoulders, yet alongside it, an undeniable hope flickered. "Let us go," Clara said firmly. "Let us visit those places together." The journey would be uncomfortable, but they had each other, and that made all the difference. First stop was her childhood home. Clara's heart raced as they reached the front door. "Do you want me to come with?" Jenna asked, her voice soft. Clara shook her head. "This one's mine." Alone, Clara stepped inside, the familiar scent enveloping her like a hug. Memories flooded the halls, laughter of birthday parties, echoes of shouting matches, love and heartbreak ingrained in the walls. Each step felt like stepping through her own history, a path laden with laughter and regret. As Clara touched the banister, she felt warmth seep through her fingers. "I'm ready," she whispered, deciding to confront the memories that swirled in chaos. Here was where it began, a broken image of her childhood that felt like a labyrinth. Would today be the day she found her way out? Clara guided herself through the living room, feeling every inch of the fabric of her life. "Dad?" she murmured, listening for whispers of the past. And there it was, echoing softly, "Face what you've avoided. Only then will you find peace." With renewed faith, Clara stepped out and rejoined Walter and Jenna, sharing hushed revelations about her childhood experiences. Together, they embraced the transformative power of truth. The foundation of trust they built through connection replaced old hurt. Next, they visited the diner. The place buzzed with chatter, and Clara's heart quickened as memories surfaced. They settled into a booth, the same one she had shared countless meals with her family. Clara felt a wave of longing and something else, acceptance. "Mom, I know this is hard," Jenna said, placing a hand on Clara's. "But look at how far we've come already. This is about reframing our journey." Walter nodded in agreement. The fragrance of fried food enveloped them, and Clara smiled hesitantly as she pointed out their old favorites on the menu, an anchor to the past, but also a joyous remembrance. "You're right, Jenna. We're getting somewhere. We have to honor these moments," Clara replied with newfound strength. Finally, they headed to the park. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden hues across the trees. Clara stilled at the swing set, each creak taking her back. She saw herself as a little girl, fearful yet joyous, a promise of tomorrow. As she swung back and forth, Clara felt more than memories. She felt power rising within her. She turned to her family, their faces alight with pride and recognition. "This is it, right? The start of something real?" she asked, her voice bursting with hope. "Yes. The past is part of us, but it doesn't define us," Walter said, his eyes shimmered with tears. Jenna leaned in, a radiant smile blooming. "We're making a future together." They clasped hands, forming an unbreakable circle. Clara exhaled deeply, knowing they had weathered the storm together, and it brought them closer than ever. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Clara looked back to her father's shadow dancing among the trees. The journey wasn't over, but she felt lighter, transformed through the layers of their shared truth. "Let us keep moving forward together," she said firmly. With the shadows of their pasts acknowledged, Clara finally felt free to embrace their shared love. There would always be bumps, but their journey felt destined for warmth and connection. This was the turning point. A moment of unveiling, not only of secrets but of renewal. Clara realized she could weave together her past and future, creating a tapestry of healing within their family home, now filled with hope. Now, as they prepared to drive back, excitement bubbled in Clara's heart for all that was yet to come. With her family beside her, she was ready to face tomorrow and all it held, the fears dissolving into laughter, the chains of the past holding no power over her future. If this story inspired you, you need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive tales of hope and transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of healing. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment your feelings about the ending. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.